Your biological signature is currently being contaminated by social symmetrization. Look at your persona management, the way you mirror the low-frequency emotions of the hamsters, the individuals trapped in the repetitive wheel of domesticity and compliance, the way you suppress your apex intent to avoid being identified as a threat, and the way you allow your own activation energy to be drained by participating in their circle logic conversations. You are a biological unit experiencing a state of terminal infiltration decay. The Matrix has successfully branded blending in as social intelligence, but in the terminal of the absolute power grid, total assimilation is just a biological suicide, designed to ensure you never activate your true dominance frequency. You're living in a state of chronic persona leakage, where the mask is starting to fuse with your actual biology. The system doesn't want your mask, it wants your true nature to be successfully domesticated so that your spirit becomes just another unit of reliable biomass in the hamster wheel of the 99%. Thousands of years ago, infiltration was defined by the biological separation of intent from appearance. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the unmapped dark, understood that the most effective way to dominate the terrain was to appear unremarkable while remaining lethal. He mastered primal grounding in the law of the mimic predator. He didn't seek friendship or communal harmony within the tribal hierarchy. He offered the visual rage of a total, unyielding internal divorce. His hierarchy was built on the foundation of asymmetric perception, the understanding that the human brain is a machine that achieves its highest strategic density only when it treats social interaction as a tactical cloak. His biological rebellion was his total refusal to be transparent. He possessed a mind that treated authenticity with the weak as a biological toxin, stripping away the socialized sludge until only the monolith of his raw predatory directive remained. He understood that the moment the hamsters know what you are thinking, you have surrendered your apex signature and become a target for their collective fear. To master the predator mask, you must first become psychologically bimodal, a unit that operates with total civilian compliance on the surface and absolute sovereign dominance in the core. The predator mask is the implementation of the collar of the ghost architect for your final internal dominance. The system wants you to be open and vulnerable, words that mean harvestable and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological siege of the social sensor grid. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of empathy hooks, stimulus-response lures, and deciding to be the one who shorts the circuit by being indifferently controlled. You must develop a clinical cold contempt for emotional bonding with the mediocre. Sharing your truth is a horizontal bond for the herd. Absolute presence is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the blind spots of the human radar. Use the temporal noose of the total surface synchronization to force the hamsters into a state of false security. Use the false safety of a calm robotic delivery to mask the activation of your total internal independence. This is the collar of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only person in the room whose true intent is a total mystery to the livestock. The Matrix cannot simulate the leverage of a man who is smiling but calculating. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need for a genuine connection with the unworthy is the knot. Every honest confession you make and every vulnerable moment you share with a hamster is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you, initiate the total persona audit. Your mind is a biological weapon, and it is currently being jammed by the static of your own socialized need to be real. You must perform a hard reset of the interaction instincts. Stop being yourself, the industrial waste designed to keep you at the bottom of the ledger. Stop participating in their social grooming and mutual vulnerability myths, the digital propaganda designed to make you believe that transparency is a victory. Stop using their communication protocols, the narratives designed to keep you in a state of constant strategic exposure. You must prune your life of empathy parasites. If a connection requires your true nature to be visible to function, it is a biological saboteur. You must learn to love the weight of the absolute secrecy. This is the monolith strategy, becoming a biological fortress that is the shadow by choice and sovereign by design. Command, don the mask or be the prey. The neural interface of your social camouflage is currently suffering from sympathetic resonance. Look at your mirroring threshold, the way you subconsciously adopt the slumping posture, the mundane vocabulary, and the trivial anxieties of the hamsters, the individuals running the repetitive cycles of the middle-class simulation, effectively allowing their low-frequency biology download its limitations into your own nervous system. You are a biological unit experiencing a total frequency sovereignty liquidation. The Matrix has successfully replaced your primal disconnect with a systemic empathy. You believe that by relating to them, you are being a leader, but in the terminal of the absolute power grid, relatability is just a biological sinkhole used to ensure your apex frequency is grounded and neutralized by the collective weight of the mediocre. This is the visual rage of the domesticated male, seeing your high-value activation energy being bled out into small talk and communal problem-solving, while the true operator remains in a state of absolute zero, converting his total rejection of social integration into a biological firewall that keeps his core objectives sterile and protected. The system doesn't want your distance, it wants your involvement to be the proof that you have accepted the hamster wheel as the only valid reality. In the ancient hierarchy, the law of the unbreaking stone, the master was the one who could survive the total internal isolation while standing in the center of the tribe. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the unmapped dark, understood that socializing was a data-gathering mission, not a leisure activity. He mastered primal grounding by becoming a functional ghost, a figure who understood that the only way to dominate the enclosure was to remain psychologically unreachable even while physically present. He didn't seek validation or brotherhood within the stagnant collective. He provided the visual rage of a total, unannounced cognitive partitioning. His hierarchy was built on the foundation of internal autocracy, the understanding that the human brain is a machine that achieves peak tactical density only when it maintains a strict need-to-know protocol with its environment. His biological rebellion was his total refusal to sync. He possessed a mind that treated shared emotions as a biological trap, a signal that his trajectory was being averaged out by the herd. He understood that the moment you feel one with the group, you have surrendered your apex signature and become predictable biomass. To be a master, you must first become psychologically repulsed by the concept of fitting in. The predator mask is the activation of the anti-chew protocol for your final internal dominance. The Matrix wants you to be sincere and approachable, words that mean harvestable and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological siege of the rapport grid. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of similarity hooks, stimulus-response lures, and deciding to be the one who shorts the circuit by being indifferently compliant. You must develop a clinical cold contempt for social harmonization. Being one of the guys is a horizontal bond for the herd to keep the outliers from ascending. Absolute presence is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the psychological high ground by controlling the flow of your own biological transparency. Use the temporal noose of the total surface mimicry to drive the system's influence into a state of recognition failure. Use the false safety of a calm robotic delivery to mask the activation of your total internal independence. This is the color of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only person in the room whose true north is not being influenced by the trivial gravity of the hamsters. The one who can go the longest without dropping the mask is the one who eventually owns the room. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need to be seen as a good guy is the knot. Every authentic conversation you have with someone whose life is a repetitive loop is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you, initiate the second stage of the persona rearmament. Your mind is a biological engine, and it is currently being choked by the empathy sludge of the unworthy. You must perform a total neural partition reset. Stop being open, the industrial waste designed to keep you at the bottom of the ledger. Stop being a node in their network of mutual vulnerability. Stop being a unit of compliance in their ledger of men who are easy to know. You must prune your social interactions with the collar of absolute sovereignty. If a relationship requires you to be real to be sustained, the relationship is a biological failure. You must learn to love the weight of the absolute duality. You must learn to love the friction-heavy hours where the noise of the collective is muted and your dominance is the only signal in the dark. This is the monolith strategy, becoming a biological fortress that is the infiltrator by choice and sovereign by design. Command: sharpen the mask or be the hamster. Your biological trajectory has reached the terminal velocity of socialized neutralization. Look at your transparency threshold, the exact moment your nervous system triggers a panic response because you have remained silent or emotionally unresponsive in a room full of hamsters, and the collective is starting to smell the apex frequency radiating from your core. You are a biological system in a state of chronic activation decay. The system has successfully replaced your internal autocracy with a series of civilian norms disguised as charisma. You no longer seek to dominate the room through unmoving camouflage. You seek to build rapport. You no longer seek to be the sovereign. You seek to be the likable leader. This is the visual rage of the terminal slave. Seeing your life force being digitized and archived in social metrics and public perceptions, while your physical reality remains a quiet, managed enclosure of unfulfilled DNA. You are breathing in the toxic fumes of a collective that demands your authenticity as a form of tribute, leaving you lightheaded, fragmented, and fundamentally easy to track because your face and your will have become one and the same. The system doesn't want your subterfuge, it wants your sincerity to be the foundation of its perpetual control over your strategic depth. Return to the ancient hierarchy, the law of the unbreaking monolith. In the primal world, the master was the one who could remain a biological void, even in the center of a storm of social interrogation. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the absolute cold, understood that power was a product of psychological partitioning. He mastered primal grounding by becoming an impenetrable core, a figure whose surface was a mirror and whose depth was his own property. He understood that to be honest with the unworthy is to confess a lack of internal defense. If you are participating in the transparency script provided by the herd, you are acknowledging that their gaze is the barometer of your reality. He used his silent sovereignty to create a cognitive resonance of absolute, unshakable divinity by being the only opaque variable in a room full of puppets. By being the master of his own internal feedback, he forced the environment to treat his mask as the new truth. He was a master of the visual rage of the unblinking sun, the ability to look at the empathy probes of the rival and see only the static they represented. He understood that the human brain is a machine that runs on social recognition loops, and by cutting the loop, he triggered a biological rebirth in his own command. To be a master, you must first become psychologically unreceptive to the need to be seen for who you truly are. The predator mask is the activation of the anti-chew protocol for your final mental expansion. The Matrix wants you to be sincere and transparent, words that mean harvestable and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological jailbreak of the persona. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of authenticity control nodes, stimulus response lures, and deciding to be the one who burns the grid. You must develop a clinical cold contempt for mainstream vulnerability. Opening up is a horizontal bond for the herd. Absolute presence is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the psychological high ground by controlling the flow of your own biological signals. Use the temporal noose of total informational and emotional withdrawal to drive the system's influence into a state of recognition dissonance. Use the false safety of a neutral social profile to mask the viral infection of your total non-compliance with the beta norms. This is the color of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only person in the room whose value is not being broadcast from their current emotional state. You are not lying. You are deleting the noise. The one who can go the longest without dropping the performance is the one who controls the end scenario. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need for a genuine witness to your life is the knot. Every honest talk you have with the unworthy is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you, initiate the final persona imperative. This is the tax of insight. You have been given the key to the vault of biological camouflage. To keep it, you must use it as a weapon of total social dominance. You must become a living monolith of unshakable duality. You are no longer a peer, a colleague, or a friend. You are a sovereign operator. You must perform a total system liquidation. If a mask, a technology, or a relationship requires you to be authentic to function, it is a biological saboteur. You must prune your life with the collar of the absolute zero. You are building a fortress of results in a world of digital shadows. Your absolute unreachability is the physical proof of your biological leverage. You do not provide feedback. You create a reality in which you are the only absolute truth. You do not seek to be known. You are the law itself. You are the architect of your own shadow, and the world is merely a mirror reflecting your ascent.